Hi, friends, and welcome to In the Weeds, the official CCL halftime show presented by Roll20. I'm Gilly, here with BBJ, support player for 30K. Hey, BBJ, how's the season going so far?
Bit of a rough start, but going pretty good now. On a bit of a win streak. Hopefully, we're still on a win streak when everyone sees this.
Yeah, you get the post-match interview, so it's going to be real fun. We'll talk about that match here in a second. But talking about, that slower start, a couple of losses, and now climbing the standings, to what do you attribute that turnaround?
Our first 2 weeks were against better teams than I think our last 2 weeks, for sure. But also, after our first two losses, we got Mene in as a coach. I think that changed up our drafting and also just like our decision-making a lot. And it made us get more out of practice, I think. So we're looking at like reviews more and making bigger strides, like in terms of changing things that we were doing wrong.
Yeah, that efficiency of practice, I'm sure, is super, super helpful. What do you think, some of the big things specifically Mene has been able to help you guys with?
See some amount of synergy, looking at like, if someone makes a mistake, kind of like diving deeper into like changing the behavior, not just like changing, just not just yelling at them for like missing a skill shot. It's more of like, why did you think this play was good? And then seeing if they can, defend it. And then if they can't, then we don't do that again.
Nice. That's it seems like maybe brutal VOD review, but necessary for sure in order to make those good improvements.
Yeah. Everyone on our team, the goal is just winning. So everyone can take a little flame from time to time if it means we win more games, because nobody likes losing.
Yeah, for sure. Well, that's awesome to hear that everyone's got the right mentality. And kind of talking about you guys' team dynamic, obviously you guys have had a change. You've brought Fury in. He was tanking some last weekend. And then, of course, we heard Mike make it official. What differences in playstyle do you feel that Fury brings to your team, or any changes that you guys are making in order to adapt?
Fury's more vocal than Maska, which I think helps because our team doesn't really have like a one set leader. It's kind of everybody talking, communicating. So having like a more vocal tank kind of allows us to follow up better, I think, sometimes.
Yeah.
And, knowing the tank's cooldowns is pretty important. But I don't think the tank change is huge. I think Masquerade and Fury are both very good tanks. So I think the bigger changes are coming just from us getting more out of practice in different drafts.
That makes sense. And, I know Fury, pretty vocal opponent of Medallion, and obviously this is going to be the first weekend without Medallion in for CCL. What are you expecting that will influence, specifically if you think that there will influence the drafting throughout CCL?
Yeah, I think a lot of the heroes with roots will probably start seeing more play, because I think roots felt pretty bad with Medallion in. Like Malfurion root is a follow-up CC, pretty much always got Medallioned out of if it was up. Same with like, Anduin, even Deckard to an extent. The root heroes felt a lot worse. And I think we'll see that some of them come back in support roles, maybe even in like 4-man thralls and stuff like that.
Yeah. Okay.
So I think that'll change. And also I think like setup combos, right? Like the more predictable CCs, like even maybe May, like the things that are just very easy to see coming.
Yeah.
That some people would medallion and get out of. Now they land and they can lead to more kills.
That now explains to me so much more of your stream title when I came and found you.
Yeah.
And of course, next weekend for CCL, Hogger's going to be in play. Have you had a chance to test him out? Are you the team at all? And what are your thoughts on where he might fit into the meta?
I haven't played him at all, but I've seen him in quite a few games, and he seems pretty weak right now.
Okay. Unless
maybe people are just really bad at him and he has a high skill ceiling. It's kind of hard to tell because it's still early days. But he seems like he's not quite strong enough to be a main tank, but he also doesn't wave clear that well to be in a side lane. So he's kind of in like limbo between being like a 4-man bruiser, but he doesn't bring a ton of damage or a ton of utility. So I'll be interested to see if any teams pick him up.
Yeah.
I imagine there might be some buffs if his, win rate or whatever isn't very good later on. And then maybe we'll see him more.
Gotcha. Yeah, maybe, depending on patches and stuff, maybe he starts to pop up more if that happens around like playoffs and that kind of time. But we'll have to see. Still definitely exciting always to see, anytime there's a new hero and where they might fit into things. All right, so let's switch gears a bit. This interview is going to air after your Wild Heart match. They sit just above you guys in standings. So, I'm going to put you on the spot here a little bit. How are you feeling that matchup's going to go, and what are you guys going to do to make sure that you deliver them their second loss and tie them in standings?
Yeah, this is the first weekend without Medallion, so Wild Heart is normally unpredictable no matter the weekend, and now they're even more so. But it's kind of good for us because I think everybody's coming in with kind of different takes on the meta without Medallion now. So we're just kind of focusing on our own stuff because we don't expect to be able to predict whatever they're going to bring out. So as long as, we show up with drafts that we like and we play well, I think we're pretty confident going into it.
Awesome. And then next weekend, I want to talk a little bit about that match too. You're going to face Sidestep Kings. What are you expecting out of that match? And is there anyone in particular that you're kind of looking at as someone to watch out for or someone to maybe capitalize on from that team?
That team's kind of been struggling. Their only win is against Simplicity when they had a sub week 1.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they've probably been underperforming a bit, but they took Oxygen to 3-2.
Yeah.
And almost beat them. So, we won't underestimate them, but probably try to focus on the Korean players. 200 ping's a lot to be playing on. So, if we can't abuse them on 200 ping, it's a bad sign for us.
Are there any teams in particular that you are like really looking ahead to playing, even if it's Wild Heart or beyond?
The rest of our schedule, I think, it's pretty much just Wild Heart. Mm-hmm. And then after that, it's just, the playoffs, whether we end up in 4th or if we get top 3 and get to go to playoffs. Guaranteed. Without going through the gauntlet, it'd be pretty nice.
Yeah.
And then we get to, maybe get some redemption against Crowd Control or Oxygen. Because I think both those sets we felt we should have won. I think we just had some uncharacteristic mistakes.
Got it.
That we would like to clean up the next time we play them.
Yeah, for sure. Well, best of luck to you in, I guess, that SSK match when this is going to be airing. But for now, it wouldn't be, I'd be doing you and the fans a disservice if I didn't try to get some classic BBJ hot takes. So, we're going to do a segment that I made up on the spot, BBJ hot takes. I'm just going to give you a few rapid fire questions, starting with who's the best team in CCL?
It's got to be 30K. Come on. I can't. Maybe it's another team. Oxygen's been looking good, but I think, I don't know, a lot of their sets, I think the other teams just played worse than their standard. I think Crowd Control, I think they're really good all around, but I think their drafts actually will probably end up costing them later in the season. And then Wild Heart's kind of a coin flip. If their meta works out, maybe they're the best team, but if it doesn't, then, maybe they're not even top 4. So, I always believe in my own team.
Good.
Maybe we've already lost to Wild Heart at this point. I look like an idiot, but that's fine.
No. You got to believe in the team. I'll give you maybe an easier question, maybe harder. Who's the worst team in CCL?
Oh, come on. It's Chili Mountain. It's not even close. I don't think they're picking up a game the rest of the way. They're making another roster change this week, I'm pretty sure. Maybe it'll be next week, but maybe they'll pick up a game or 2, but they won't pick up a set, and then they're probably first out in the playoffs. They gave us, their first 3 draft picks. We have the 1, 16, 17 pick. All on our team.
Yeah, the inner workings between Chili Mountain and 30K have definitely been interesting as the draft show goes. Let's switch a little bit. Who's the best drafters in CCL?
Justin drafts are always unique. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's hard to tell if they're great or if it's just that nobody has practice against them, so they look better than they are. I think Cascon as Oxygen drafter has been doing a pretty good job. And some of his drafts are a little out there, but I think they generally get advantages through the draft and then they execute on them. And then, I think Mede's drafts have been very good for us after we picked them up.
And whose drafts make 0 sense to you?
There's some Granite drafts that leave me question mark pinging them.
Okay.
And there's also place drafts are okay, middle of the pack maybe. Chili Mountain drafts have been atrocious the early weeks. Maybe they've been better the last few, but it's kind of hard to tell. They kind of just AFK and let themselves lose.
There's the BBJ hot takes. There you go. Presented by, BBJ. There we go. All right. Well, thank you so much, BBJ. I really appreciate you taking the time. Are there any shout outs that you'd like to give before we go?
Shout out to CCL, of course. even the unsung heroes, the production team back there.
Oh,
The people that make the show happen. Then shout out to 30K, Mr. Udall with the mastermind drafts and roster moves, stealing all of Chili Mountain's picks.
Continuing to win through 500 IQ plays. I love it. I love it. Well, thank you again. Thanks everyone for watching another In the Weeds presented by Roll20 and for enjoying CCL. We'll see you next time. And thank you so much, BBJ, for joining me.
Thanks for having me.